Hello and welcome to Verico Academy. This course, How to Earn Your Annual Income Goal, is the first course in the program entitled Basic Mortgage Brokering. We support and encourage that you set goals every year. You can use whatever measurement method you choose in setting your goals. Your goals can be based on income, the amount of money that you want to make in a given year, the number of units or the dollar amount in funded volume, or you can simply do a percentage increase year over year. In this course, we are going to take you through a 5-step process using the income measurement, and in completion of this process, you'll realize where your business has come from, you'll determine where you want to get your business from, and you'll also understand how much business you need and what you need to do to reach your annual income goal. At the end of the 5 steps, we've also provided you with a sample of a tracking method that we recommend. Tracking your input and measuring your outcome is very important when setting your goals. So by now you've printed off a copy of the PDF that was attached at the site, and if you want you can just watch the video and how we go about working through this, or you can work along with me. In step number 1, you want to record up here what your annual income goal is. Let's say that I want to make $150,000 this year. The next step is looking at what your average mortgage is. So in this example, my average mortgage is $275,000, and I'm going to multiply it by the number of basis points on average that I receive in finder's fee or origination fee. I'm going to use 80 in my example here. So if I multiply the average mortgage times the average finder's fee, I will come out with the average finder fee per deal. And in my example, it's $2,200 would be paid by the lender on my average deal. If you move down to your split in my example, I'm going to use a 90% split. So say my split is 90-10 with my broker owner. Then I'm going to put in my average finder fee, which is this amount here. In my example, $2,200. I'm going to multiply the two, and it will result in the average commission that I make per deal after my split. And in my example, it's $1,980. The next step, I'm going to bring my 1A number, or my $150,000, which is my annual income goal. Down here, I'm going to divide it by the average commission that I receive per deal, which is $1,980, and that will result in the number of deals I'm required to fund in order to reach my annual income goal. And in my example, it works out to 75.7, so I'm going to round it up at 76. You'll also notice as we go through the process that I've put some red numbers down here, 1A and 1B. You're going to be needing those numbers later on as you work through this process and some of the formulas of calculation. The next step, step 2, we're going to look at the business sources. So you need to know in your business what percentage of your business comes from consumer direct. What amount of business do you get from your past clients, from referrals from your past clients, or from advertising directly to the consumer? In my example, I'm going to use 55%. That I think 55% of my business comes from consumer direct sources. So that would mean that the balance of my business has to come from other referral sources, such as realtors or financial planners. So that would be 45%. The two, of course, should total 100%. Now, to work through this, we're going to take 2A, which is up here, and it was 55%, the consumer direct percentage of my business, and we're going to multiply it from 1B in step 1, which was the number of deals I need to fund in order to reach my goal, which you'll recall was 76 for me. We're going to multiply the two, and that's going to tell me how many funded deals I need from my consumer direct source in order to achieve my annual income goal. And in my example, that number is going to be 42. So we'll do the same thing down here, only using the other referral sources. 45%, 76 is the number of deals required again, and that multiplies out to being 34. Now we're going to talk a little bit about your referral sources. In this exercise, we ask that you categorize your other referral sources into high, medium, or low. And this is completely up to you as to how you categorize them. So for example, in my way of thinking, a high referral source would be a realtor or a financial planner that gives me 1 funded deal per month or 12 per year. A medium referral source, in my mind, would be 6. So half as many. So every second month of the year, I will fund a deal from my medium referral sources. And my low, I will categorize at 3. So that's how I break mine down. It could be different for you. You might require, or you might think that a high would be more deals. It's totally up to you when you complete this exercise. Down here, in order to work through this process, we are going to put 2D in, which is the number of deals, a number of other deals that were required. And you'll remember from the step 2, in my example, it was 34. I'm going to go over here and put in my categorization for my high, medium, and low. And now what you need to do is just sit and think of who you are getting business from now. If you can move them up, say from a medium to a high, or if you have no referral sources and you're starting fresh, you might want all of your business coming from low referral sources. So let me work through this. A high, and I need 34 deals. So I need at least 1. I have been brokering for a while, and I do have 1 really good referral source that I know I can count on getting 12 funded deals a year from. So out of the 34 that I need, I know I can count on having this 1 higher referral source giving me 12. So I'm going to put a 1 in there. So now I need to come up with 22 more. So I've got 12 deals here out of the 34. I need 22 more. So in thinking of my referral sources, I have some that right now are lows that I think I can move into mediums. I actually think that I can move 3 of my lows into mediums, so that would mean that I'll have 3 medium referral sources giving me 6 deals in the year that fund. That will give me a total of 18. So now, of the 34, I'm at 30, 12, and 18. So I need at least 4 more. So what I'm going to do is think of a couple of referral sources that are out there that I know that I can get at least 3 funded deals this year from. These would be people that I've never even contacted before, but I'm quite confident that I would be able to get at least 2 brand new realtors or referral sources sending me in business so that I could count on having 6 funded deals from them. So to continue this exercise, we've got 36 funded deals coming from 6 other referral sources categorized as I've outlined. Now, in checking back on this maybe 6 months from now, which is not a bad idea, you might need to change your numbers in here a little bit. You might want to recategorize your high, medium, low, or you might want to adjust how many highs you're going to have or how many mediums. The thing is that this just gives you some kind of a guideline or a plan with which to use when you go out and start working with your referral sources. In step 4, what we're going to do is calculate the number of applications that you're going to need to receive in order to reach your annual income goal. Now remember in steps 1 through 3 where we're working with funded deals as opposed to applications. So to start with, you're going to need to put your funding ratio in here. So if you're not sure of what your funding ratio is, that is the number of deals that you fund to the applications received, you could check with some of your lenders. They should have knowledge of that information if you're sending business to them regularly. And if you're a brand new broker and have not had to do this as yet, then I would suggest you check with your broker owner to find out what they think would be reasonable given your level of experience. So for this part of the exercise, I am going to use 45%. So that means out of 10 applications, I fund 4.5. Now, down here, what we're going to do is put in here the number of consumer direct deals needed. So you can go back into your previous steps and find your 2C. And in mine, it is I need 42 funded deals from my consumer direct source. And I'm going to divide that by my funding ratio, which is 45%, and that results in 93 applications. I need to get 93 applications in order to fund 42 deals from my consumer direct source. If my funding ratio is better than 45%, I'll need less applications. Let's go on to the number of other referral source deals needed, working through the same process. My 2D, or the number of other referral source deals, funded deals needed, was 34. The funding ratio continues at 45. And you divide 45 into 34, and that gives us 76 applications from other referral sources are needed. Moving on to the second part of step 4. In number 1, we're going to put the number of other referral sources, and that's from number 3D. And in my sample, it was 6. Recall, after we categorized all of the referral sources and then figured out how many we needed, mine was 6. Number 2 is the percentage of success in developing other referral sources. So what that means is, of all the referral sources you know of, what percentage do you think you would be successful in converting to a referral source that actually sends you business? In the example here, they've said 35% of the sources you call on send you business. So in other words, out of 10 referral sources that you call on, 3.5 of them are actually going to send you business. In my example, I am going to use 30%. Here we're going to put the number of prospects required again, that's 6, and we're going to divide it by our 30% success rate, and that will give me, in my example, 20. That means that I need to call on 20 referral sources with a success rate of 30% to achieve 6 referral sources sending business into me. Number 4 is the number of calls required to get the prospect to send you your first deal. Some stats here, the average is 2.8 to 3 times. In other words, you need to contact that referral source about 3 times before you finally convince them to send a deal into you. So in my example, I'm going to use 3. Now we're going to figure out how many prospecting calls you need to make in order to achieve your annual income goal. So we'll take 4C, which is 20. That's the number of referral sources that you need to start with. And we're going to multiply it by the number of times that you need to call on those 20 referral sources in order to get business from them. So that would be 3. And that will equal 60. So that's the total number of prospecting calls that are required for me to get the number of referral sources I want who will send me in the business that I need in order to achieve my annual income goal. Moving on to step 5. It's important that you schedule out your calls and do it in a meaningful, realistic way. So the first thing you need to do is think of the average number of calls that you can make in a day. Again, that depends upon where you're at in your business. If you're brand new, you can probably make maybe 5 or 6 calls a day. If you're doing deals already, then you will probably do less calls because you only have so much time in a day. For this exercise, I'm going to put 3 because I'm busy doing deals, but I think that I can do 3 calls a day, 1 face-to-face and 2 on the phone. Or some days it might be that I do 3 on the phone. Again, this is totally up to you. Just make sure that it's realistic. And number 2, we're going to figure out how many days are required to complete 1 cycle of making calls. So again, it's simple math, the number of prospecting required. So that's 4E, which was 60. Remember, we have to do 60 prospecting calls. And the number of calls I can make in a day is 3, so that means I've got a 20-day cycle. Next thing you'll do is you'll schedule out your calls. Make sure that you put them into some sort of scheduling method. Use either tasks on your Outlook or your calendar or your daytime or whatever works for you. But if you don't write it down and you don't schedule it, chances are you're not going to get around to doing it. You need to schedule out time every day to work on these calls. We also think that it's important that you track the number of visits to the number of applications and the funded deals received. On the next page here, we're offering you an example of just a very simple, straightforward tracking method. On this tracking record, you would put the referral source in here, put the dates called on in here. You might want to make some kind of a code for yourself, whether you did a phone call or a face-to-face and on which date you did. And as you start to get your applications in, you'll put in the dates the applications were received, and then as you fund those deals, put in the dates that the deals actually funded. So in looking at this at a glance, you'll be able to tell how effective your calls are. Not only do you want to track it, but you'll need to analyze it. Let's use an example. Mr. Smith is your referral source. Let's say you went beyond your 3 calls in order to get business because you just felt really sure that the relationship was moving on and that you would eventually get business. So you've made 6 calls to him, a mixture of face-to-face calls and phone calls, and you've received no applications. It may be that it's time for you to have a conversation with him and state that maybe you can't do business together at this time, but you would like permission to contact him maybe a month down the road or 2 months down the road. Sometimes we have to fire the referral sources. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. And so you put it off and try again at another time. Let's say you've got Mr. Jones, who's your referral source. Let's say you've called on him 3 times and he's been sending in business. He sent in several applications. Let's say you got 6 applications, but it's been beyond 45 days and none of the deals have funded. 45 days being the average funding period of a mortgage once the application's been submitted. That would mean to me that one of 2 things, and you'd have to talk to him and find out and maybe look at the deals and determine what's going on here. But it could be that they're sending in applications that aren't meeting your credit requirements or the credit requirements of the lenders that you're sending them to. Could be that you're not placing them properly. Or it could mean that you are getting them approved, but they're not coming to funding because they're going elsewhere, or your referral source is sending them elsewhere at the same time as they're sending them to you. It requires some analysis and some investigation, but we encourage you to do so. So that's the end of your 5-step process on how to earn your annual income goal. We hope this exercise helps you. Again, you have a hard copy of it. You can print it off again and rework it. We do recommend that you check back after a few months. You determine whether or not you need to reassess what your goal is, either increase it or reduce it, maybe adjust your categorization of your referral sources. Thank you for taking this course, and we hope that you'll continue on with the basic mortgage brokering program and take the rest of the courses and then move on to other Verico Academy programs.